All right, welcome back. We got the Springfield Armory SA35 right here, basically their copy of the high power. We're going to be taking a look closer at comparison side to side with a vintage 1968 Browning high power made in Belgium. So that's what we're going to take a look at, and we're going to go over these things side to side with all the parts and the grips and everything. Of course, you know, the Springfield, if you're not familiar with it yet, it's really cool because they stayed very true to the original without any kind of deviation, really. There's some minor upgrades that I think were good upgrades, but yet didn't take away or make it too odd looking, and like I said, change it from its original look. The original high power has a certain look to it. I think one of the major things for me is certainly the slide lock or slide release lever here. I really like the way that always looked at that high power look has always been iconic with that, with this little half circle coming up there. I think that's really, really important to me. They went with of course, the later design with the external extractor, where the early ones were internal here, much like a 1911. It had a little cutout right here where I believe that piece removed in order for you to take out the extractor that way. Also, some of the early ones had the what they call thumbprint one here, and what that thumbprint was for was when you lock it to the rear to push this out to take it down. I believe that's what it did. It accommodated that. So all the lines here, especially this area right here, is very important, and they got the look right on that. You can see it there. Now mine here has just from what we have ran through it, you can see the small amount of wear, and of course we're just nitpicking here, but it's there and it's not really there on this side, so it makes me wonder if there's any kind of a burr or something on the inside of the frame that could be causing that or anything. But we're going to go ahead and take a look. And also the thing we want to take a look at is this is the Springfield Armory marked magazine. It comes with one magazine, and these are, I believe, by Megar. They're made in Italy, so they're not actually made by Springfield, but they do hold 15 rounds. The original magazine here, and this one holds, I believe, these are 13 rounds. So kind of interesting, you know, this is being the original. And I heard it's something to do with the follower, that it is something about the follower being changed, because both the magazines are interchangeable with each other. So I'm going to go ahead and actually push this down and see if there's anything on the inside of this that we're going to be able to see that could identify as any kind of a change. So, okay, so there's the follower on the original, and of course, you know, the inside of the tube. But let's go ahead and slip this back, and we'll take this one apart and see if there's any kind of a difference. I mean, the plate on the bottom looks very close, and in fact, I just noticed that one does say Italy on it. Okay, there's there's the original and the Springfield marked one here, again by Megar. Ah, yeah. Okay, so there's how they got their extra rounds in there. You can see how much shorter the follower is in comparison to this one, which is the original. So there's your that's where they're getting the extra rounds, by shortening up the follower. Alright, so that kind of pretty much answers that. We're going to go ahead and put this thing back together. I'm always careful of the way these things come apart and go back together, because you can get the springs twisted around, and you don't want to put them in backwards and whatnot. You almost can, in this case, almost got to say that the plate is so identical, I don't want to mix them up. So now we're going to get into the gun itself. Okay, so taking a look at the grips here, you can see the SA35 grips here on the left and the original Browning high power grips. I've always really did kind of like the original look. Of course, these ones here are the vintage ones, of course, with the classic red back. Those are kind of, you heard, I'm sure, heard that term being tossed around in the collector's market and everything. So here, let's turn these over and check them out. Normally you'll see a maker mark or somebody that perhaps is making them for there. They're pretty good. They're thin, and also, you know, when you put them together, you know, you can see just how thin they are in comparison to the originals, which I do like the original grips. I mean, I even may change mine out, this one out to these grips. We're not sure yet what we're going to do, but anyway, but for now, actually, honestly, the original grips, or the grips that they come with them, are not bad at all. The screws, you know, again, we're just throwing this in for added bonus. Here's the Browning high power screws, and this is the SA35. You can see even the screws on the top of the Browning have been high polished. Of course, that's not the finish that is on the SA35. Coming down to the frames, we're going to take a look at the frames here. We're going to take down the Browning. Alright, frames are nearly identical. As you can see here, we're going to try to show you the best angle we can. Down in the internal works, I did mention in the earlier video that we did where I thought about, I said, you know, there's something I remember on the bottom here where there was like a post or something sticking out. That could have been a reminiscence of a surplus model that we've had here on the channel. And you can see here even the sear spring is located and done up the same way. There is a slight difference I'm noticing right here. Okay, here's the Browning, and I'm not sure if you're going to be able to see it. The difference is right about here. And I'm noticing on the Springfield, there's like that is definitely different. There's something different about that going on there. So you can see, try not to clang these together. So there's something, but overall, I mean, even in the internal parts of this thing, it's really clean, really clean. So again, kind of looking at those hammers, you can see how the hammers are ever so different. That's what they did, was they kind of made it smaller. You know, that's to reduce the hammer bite. Of course, the thumb safety here on the original and the Springfield, they did kind of extend theirs a little bit. And then here, side to side, you see the sears and the you know, the hammer operation with the ejector. Very identical. Everything is done up very, very close. Here you can see the bar of the hand that comes up and you know, basically actuates the free floating lever for the sear. Now notice on this is the Browning here on the left. I have noticed that. Notice that bar and where it's positioned, or the hand, and the Springfield is further back. I do believe what is caused by that is, look down in there, you'll probably see it. What is it? The magazine disconnect. So we're going to go ahead and stick the magazine in here and see if what that does, and you'll see it. Where the magazine disconnect is that shoe right there, and you'll see the magazine engage it and push it back. There it is. There's the answer right there. When I remove the magazine, you can see it as the shoe is engaged. You'll see this part right here move back to the rear where it is already on the Springfield. See it there? We're going to take a look at the Browning, and you'll see it move. It being right there. And let's push the magazine in. Yep, and it moves it back. So there's the answer to that right there. You always can tell the Browning magazines and stuff. You'll see a wear pattern right there on the front of that magazine. That's where the shoe is engaging it right there. So they did take that away, which is an excellent choice on their part. I will say that. Everything is machined and done. It's almost like, you know, they had one right there side to side. Another thing you can point out is you can see some of the tooling marks on the frame in compared to the Springfield. So, but of course the Browning does have a beautiful finish on it. Not saying that you couldn't do that to the Springfield or anything, but very close, very, very, very close. Very impressive. Okay, now we're going to take a look at some slides here. Of course, we have the barrel. We'll take a look at the barrels. All right, here on the left side of the corner, we have on the left side. Anyway, we have the barrel from the Browning, and of course, in comparison to the Springfield Armory barrel. I will say in the first video that we were doing, I was impressed very much with the Springfield barrel here and the Browning barrel on your left. Both have the same, you can see that same kind of cutout right here that is kind of slotted right there, or it's just kind of, you know, tilted. I've always wondered that when I saw those originally on some of the Brownings that I've seen, you know, about that. Now the other thing you notice on the near the end of the hood, there is on the Browning, there's this deal. We'll go ahead and look at the slide and see where that actually, if that's like an extra lockup or something. So there is something different about that. If that would affect, for say, if you were doing a replacement barrel. You can also notice that on the lugs itself, there is, see that, it's a little bit more rounded this way, and this is more sharp. So if you're replacing barrels and stuff, you may run into issues with throwing an older Browning high power barrel in it. You might have that issue. The other thing too is I pointed out the original Browning barrels. You can see this seam right here. They were made in two parts. That's because it took more metal to machine out this section versus, say, this section. So that's why they did that, where they did it in two parts to save metal. So they didn't have to take a chunk of metal like this big and then machine it down to this, where they could just do this in two separate pieces. You can see the seam goes all the way around, and that is not present on the Springfield. Okay, let's look at the slides. Of course, you know, the hard to distract from the amazing look of the Browning, but go ahead and take a look inside the frames. All right, we'll do it this way since that's the way we've been doing this. Okay, here's the Browning, and you can see down in here there's a little pocket where that barrel, where this part of the barrel lives. That could be part of the lockup. That is different than the Springfield. That is definitely different there. Also notice that the Springfield did kind of take this corner off, and the Browning is left like that, sharp. The thicknesses, just from the naked eye, look identical. Overall, pretty impressive. Gotta say, the Springfield is definitely very impressive. They're going to go ahead and check and see if there's any kind of, you know, what I was talking about. It would be somewhere around here. This is kind of sharp. You can see it. Shave a little bit of this wooden stake down. Yeah, this is tends to be just a little bit more sharp there. I'll go and check on the versus the Browning does not have. The Browning has been beautifully polished. So no real burrs. I'm not really feeling it. What I'm talking about there is see this edge right here. See how shiny it is right there, and how not it is over there. Again, this could be a nitpick thing, but there's obviously something. You can feel it lock up right there. Right there. But overall, you can see that the tolerance is real close. Hardly any kind of movement there. Really well made. Must say, very impressed. Alright, last thing is the slide stops. Obviously the high polished one is the Browning, and people are talking about the any kind of sharp edges here, which I'm not feeling, and definitely not on the Browning. You can see that. The Springfield on the top and the Browning on the bottom, very similar. Done up right. So, all right. Anyway, that's about it. We just decided to kind of go through these and look at them. Last thing I guess would be the just to throw it in there would be the guide rod, if you will. Now notice the old Browning one is I believe it's it's more sealed up piece, and I think Springfield took after. I don't know if it was before this or after. I'm not sure. I can't remember. On the guide rod, I think that's just a screw that also has been kind of swaged over, but they just used a bearing detent here. You can see it actually moves. I don't think you're going to be able to get anything out of this one. Yeah, I think that's sealed up. So, alright. Anyway, hope you enjoyed the video. I'll walk through the internals, compare it side to side, the Springfield Armory and the high power Browning.